The Dodgers had a 3-game series against the Cubs in Los Angeles, kicking off a 6-game homestand, and they dropped the series. So let's talk about it. In the first game, Ian Happ's going to start the scoring off in the top of the third with a ground rule double scoring Yan Gomes. Known Dodgers offensive powerhouse Chris Taylor answers back in the bottom of the half of that inning with a solo shot. Eric Hosmer grounds out, but a run scores in the fourth, and then Mike Piazza, reincarnated in Yan Gomes, hits a solo shot to give the Cubs a 3-1 lead. Have I mentioned Max Muncy, and have I mentioned he's back because he homers in the bottom of the seventh with a solo shot to bring the Dodgers within one. Now, we go to the top of the eighth, and down 1 run, Dave Roberts elects to go to Andre Jackson to try and get a few outs. And remember, everybody, to tip your servers, but don't tip your pitches, as Andre Jackson gives up not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 solo shots as the Cubs cruise to an 8-2 win. The story of this game is really the lack of offense. We got contributions from Max Muncy and CT3, but the top of this lineup, which the top 3 were Betts, Freeman, and Martinez, go 0 for 12. Really, that can't happen. You can't have the top of this lineup when it is so thin towards the bottom go 0 for 12, but more on that later. And honestly, in this game specifically, it wasn't really the top of the lineup's fault. Everybody else went over. The only 3 hits the Dodgers got from this game were off Max Muncy and CT3. Some bright spots. Gratterall had a great outing. He was super efficient. 8 pitches, got 3 outs, and even recorded a strikeout. Noah Syndergaard in this game looked really good. His final line was 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Love to see that number. And only giving up 1 home run. He had great command. He got some serious swing and miss on that changeup. If moving forward we get 6 innings and 3 earned from Noah Syndergaard, I say we call that a win every single time, especially because once Tony Gonsolin comes back from the world's worst ankle injury, once he comes back, Noah Syndergaard will probably move back down to that 5 slot in the rotation. So 6 innings, 3 earned, take that all day. We'll move on to the game 2, which was, if you're a Dodgers fan, is the most exciting game. And it's Jackie Robinson Day as well. Let's go to the 5th inning in this pitcher's duel where Patrick Wisdom breaks the scoreless tie with a solo home run. And that would bring an end to Michael Grove, as I believe he gives up another base runner after that. He exits the game with a final slash line of 5.2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Very good day for him as well. And then the much-maligned Dodgers bullpen comes in and holds serve, giving the Dodgers an opportunity in the 9th inning, down only 1 run. It is 1-0 going into the 9th. James Outman, the rookie, starts the rally going with a single into right field. Miguel Vargas, not wanting to be outdone by his rookie counterpart, sets hold my cerveza as he doubles down the left field line. And with 2 outs on the board, newcomer David Peralta, the freight train, hits a dribbler between the second and first baseman and scoring Outman easily, and Vargas scores on a phenomenal headfirst slide, and the Dodgers win in walk-off fashion 2-1 on Jackie Robinson Day, nonetheless. Really, just story of this game is just you love to see the contribution from the rookies, and they came up in a huge spot there. The moment was not too big for them. The Dodgers offense at this point has been cold for 17 innings, and they came up huge. I mean, literally won them the game. David Peralta has been doing what he's done his whole career, hitting righties. He just put the bat on the ball, and good things happen when you put the bat on the baseball. Looking ahead to the future, there's going to be more opportunities like this, in the 8th inning, in the 9th inning. And it's going to be imperative that the moment not get too big for these guys, and they show that they can come up and hit the ball and put the ball in play and do what they need to do to score runs to keep the Dodgers in the game, or in this case, win the game. Bullpen was again fantastic tonight, going 3.1 innings and only giving up 1 hit. Dodgers anchor Shelby Miller obviously comes out with a W tonight. Everybody knew coming into the series that Shelby Miller was going to be the best pitcher in this bullpen. And on a serious note, he hasn't surrendered a run so far into the season. So even though this bullpen, like I said, is much maligned and has been getting knocked around, Shelby Miller has performed very, very well. Caleb Ferguson also looked the part tonight, striking out both batters that he faced. Top of the lineup, went 1 for 13 with 8 strikeouts and 2 walks. Again, We'll discuss that in a little bit. And Cody Bellinger robs Jason Hayward of a game-tying home run. About 5 years ago, that would have meant something entirely different, but Cody's going to do Cody things at Dodger Stadium, and he'll do more of that in the next game. And it's the third game of this series, and the rubber match showcases Julio Urias versus Drew Smyly on the mound. Smyly and Julio are cruising until CT3 takes Smyly deep in the bottom of the third for his second home run of the series. I think he's when he puts the bat on the ball, he's doing pretty well for himself. Vargas commits a fielding error, allowing Cody to reach first. Cody would then steal second, and then Luis Torrens would single a few moments later, scoring Cody. So that Vargas error proves pretty costly, and the Dodgers' inability again to hold runners on the base paths also leads to a run. More on that later. Julio then gives up back-to-back solo shots to Patrick Wisdom and, of course, Cody Bellinger in the sixth inning. Cody Bellinger's home run, giving the Cubs 3 runs, would be the deciding factor in this game. But to the bottom of the seventh we go, and we've got men on the corners with 1 out, and Mookie's coming up. Not a good day, not a good weekend at the office for Mookie, in all honesty. But he delivers. He scores on a single, gets CT in from third. Then we have, again, men on the bases loaded, and you get Freddie, JD Martinez, and Max Muncy. Not bases loaded, excuse me. They're 2 men on base with Freddie, JD, and Max Muncy coming up. Freddie does not have a particularly good at-bat. He strikes out swinging. JD Martinez singles, loads the bases for Max Muncy, who's just been, a little above normal temperature. And he also strikes out. And Cubs get out of that jam. And that would really do it again for the Dodgers scoring as the offense goes cold and drops the game and the series to the Cubs 3-2. Now, there's going to be a lot made about the ninth inning and the officiating, particularly the balls and strikes being called from behind the dish. I'm not really going to comment much on that. Bottom line, it's not great. Dodgers had opportunities, though. Like I mentioned, 2 men on, 1 out, only scored a run. Freddie has a poor at-bat. Max Muncy strikes out with bases loaded. You get opportunities. They were down 1 run from the 7th inning on, and anybody hits a home run or the 9th inning, poor ball and strike calls doesn't matter as much. So I don't really want to talk about all that much. At the end of the day, you have to play better than the umps ump. It's not fair. It always sucks. It's always frustrating, but it's just the truth. And they got scattered hits. I mean, they got men on base, but I think they were 2 for 7 today with runners in scoring position. So it's not an overall perfect day. It was nice to see Mookie getting things going, though. He was 3 for 4 today with a double and an RBI. And the theme today, and we'll talk about it at the end of this video, was the bullpen. They got 3.1 innings, 3 hits, no runs, struck out 5. Honestly, baseball just happens, and that's this game. This game in particular. Cody ends up homering. It ends up being the deciding run, and it raised his season OPS to 770. He's not had a particularly good season, but, he comes up huge in the series, and, that just happens. This is the second time this year Miguel Vargas has committed a pretty costly error. He's a rookie. He's not used to second base, and, hopefully towards the end of the year, he cleans things up. Just like I said with the Diamondback series, if this series gets played in August or September, I think it's totally different. I think the outcomes are totally different. So let's wrap things up talking about the series as a whole, pitching, batting, bullpen, decision-making. Starting pitching was great. I really don't have any complaints. Julio had arguably the worst, and he gave up 3 runs total. 2 were earned. He got knocked around a bit. I mean, I guess Noah Syndergaard was the exact same, but Julio got out 0.1 inning earlier. And I mean, 3 runs over 5 2/3 or 5 1/3 or whatever Julio was. That's a good day at the office for anybody. So starting pitching has held up its end of the bargain this series. Happy for Noah Syndergaard. I'm really hoping this level of consistency is what we're going to see from Noah Syndergaard. Michael Grove looked fantastic. Snapped off some good curveballs. Snapped off some sliders. That's what we want from him. I don't expect 1-run ball every time he comes up to the mound, but This looks more like the Michael Grove we saw a little bit last year, that he flashed last year and at the beginning of this year. So I think moving forward, hopefully Michael Grove can kind of lock that spot down until Tony Gonsolin comes back. Let's talk about the offense a little bit. I think that's going to be the big talking point for this series, specifically the top of this order. Mookie Betts saves his series stat line today. He went 3 for 4 today, but he was 0 for 8 in the previous 2 games. Freddie had a very uncharacteristic series. He went 2 for 12 total. He's 2 for his last 20, so let's hope he turns things around. I will have a couple comments on that in a little bit. JD Martinez went 1 for 11 this series. What does this mean? It means that the leadoff hitters, the top 3 in all 3 of these games, when it combined, 6 for 34. You can't really generate much offense when the top of the lineup isn't getting things done. You definitely can't get any offense really going when the top of the lineup isn't getting things done. And the bottom of the lineup in 2 of the 3 games was Miguel Rojas and Austin Barnes. And, Trace Thompson hasn't been looking the part. So maybe it's undue or unjust pressure for those guys at the top, but this offense is going to go only as far as that takes them. But here's the thing. Of all the aspects of this team that are worth criticism, I am the least bit worried about Freddie, Mookie, and to a lesser extent, JD and Muncy in the box. They're going to have series like this. They're going to have stretches like this. It is baseball. The game is tough. It's one of the hardest things to do is hit a major league fastball. It is, or any pitch for that matter. But what can't happen is that all of those guys go cold. I think in general, maybe Mookie has a bad series, but Freddie will pick them up, or JD will pick them up. Freddie has a bad series, Mookie will kind of get things going. I think it's unlikely that the top 3 or 4, once you extend it down to whoever's batting in the 4 hole between Muncy and JD, goes this cold. So I think, like I said, it's more likely that one guy can pick up the slack a little bit. We just can't have all of them do poorly, especially when you don't have the supreme talent running through this lineup like we've had in years past. And you especially can't have it when Will Smith is hurt. So let's get into that bit really quick, because that plays a big role in kind of the offensive outlook moving forward. Will Smith was put on a 7-day IL retroactive to last Thursday with a concussion. So that means Austin Barnes is slated to catch most games. They did sign Austin Wynn to be a backup catcher, and they moved Alex Reyes to the 60-day IL. Here's the concern with Will Smith is the Dodgers are ultra careful. Now, Dave said that Will Smith passed all of the necessary medical tests, but he just really wasn't feeling well. So maybe this is a case where Thursday rolls around and Will Smith is back in the lineup against, I think that'll be the first game in Chicago. So that's what we hope for. Here's what concerns me. Austin Barnes this year is 1 for 19 with 1 walk. He's been getting a ton of playing time, and he is slated to get more. We need more production from Austin Barnes. We just do. He is the black hole in the lineup that only Stephen Hawking could theorize about. He's always been valued. He's currently still valued, and no one would question his capabilities behind the plate, whether it's defensively, calling a game. But the Dodgers need him to turn it around and fast. He has never been particularly a threat in the box. However, he's also never been he's never been a stretch like this. So he needs to kind of step things up. I think he's like a negative WRC plus. He's at a negative 0.3 WAR so far in the season. He's on pace for something like a negative 3 WAR season from the catcher's position. So we need Austin Barnes to turn it around. And I'm not saying this to rag on the guy. I'm just trying to point out some facts and what would help this Dodgers offense immensely. Because we need this lineup to be a little bit longer than it is right now. And Austin Barnes doing even a little more would go a long way. A little bit about Austin Wynn. He played with the Giants last year. He had a 671 OPS and a 92 WRC plus. In comparison, Austin Barnes last year had a 704 OPS and a 104 WRC plus. So Austin Barnes was a little better offensively last year than Austin Wynn. That's not to say that Austin, like, that doesn't necessarily project into this year, but if we signed a catcher who's offensively worse than Austin Barnes and we have to go at least 4 games without Will Smith, that's going to be concerning. So, of the two guys, I would bet on Austin Barnes turning things around, but he really, really needs to. And for what it's worth, it's not really like it can get much worse than this. He's only been on base twice this year. So that's what I have about the offense. Like I said, poor performance from the guys at the top. Not too concerned about them. Austin Barnes needed a little bit more of an inspiring performance from him, but there's room to grow there, and I believe he can do it. He's had good years in the past. Doesn't need to do that well. He just needs to be actually serviceable in the box. Okay, the last concern I have on this series is the stolen bases, or on the flip side, the lack thereof from the Dodgers. Initially, after the Diamondbacks series, I thought the Diamondbacks were just really fast and that any team would struggle holding them on bases, but that still is not the case. They had a little bit of trouble against the Giants, but I mean, the Dodgers allowed 9 stolen bases this series or something like that. They allow a whopping 1.4 steals per game. And I think the next is the Padres at 1.19. The pitchers aren't holding runners on, and their slow delivery to the plate gives the catchers almost no chance at gunning a guy down at second. And when the margins of error are so small this year, and each run really matters, the Dodgers won a game by 1 run, and they lost a game by 1 run. If Andre Jackson isn't tipping his pitches, that game is 3-2 going into the 9th inning. Or it was 3-2 in the 8th inning, and then he tipped his pitches and gave up a slew of runs. He gave up 5, but he's not tipping his pitches. That's a close game too. You're seeing that the Dodgers are really in these close games, but when they're giving up free passes on the base paths, it's really starting to add up, and we're not always going to come out on top for that. Now, I don't like to, criticize things or complain about things without possible solutions. I don't think that does anybody any good. I'm not saying that I know everything, but there's just some things that maybe the Dodgers I would like to see try. Obviously, increase the time or decrease the time, mathematically, absolute value, decrease the time from the pitcher's mound to home is one of them. Pitchers being more aggressive with their pickoff attempts, get to that second pickoff attempt, just make sure the runners don't have these insane leads, because some of them are taking just ridiculous leads because they don't respect the pitchers. Those are the obvious ones. The one I would like to see, and maybe this is just something where they don't want to risk an overthrown ball, but I would like to see the catchers throwing over to first. I wouldn't hate. I've seen them pop up and throw to second. I wouldn't hate seeing Will Smith or Austin Barnes just chucking a ball at Freddie. He's a Gold Glove first baseman for a reason. He has that patch. I trust him to catch a ball, even if it's outside of his range a little bit. And I trust. Both of these catchers, both Will Smith and Austin Barnes, are not known for inaccurate throws to second. I believe they can make accurate throws to first, at a statistically significant clip. So I would like to see that more, and that will hold the runner too. They then can't take these insane leads because, Will Smith's checking on them, and that helps the pitchers out a little bit. And then maybe, you start tying a couple of these things together. But that's something that I think needs to happen on defense, just because we can't be giving up these runs, especially if the offense isn't producing as much as we would like it to. And then it's kind of the same on the flip side. The Dodgers are 29th. They're tied for 29th, with the Rockies in steal with 2 on the year. And I think James Outman has them both. But here's the other part, is they're also tied for second with a slew of other teams, no less. But they're tied for second for times caught stealing at 4. This makes them dead last in the league at stolen base percentage at 33%. With the Twins. That is the success rate of times stolen over total steal attempts. So 2 over 6, 33%. They're tied with the Twins at 33%. The next team is at 64%. So not only are we giving up runs on the base paths because we're not holding runners on, the Dodgers are also very bad at stealing bases and being aggressive themselves on the base paths. And personally, I don't quite know what this is. I don't know if this is like an organizational thing where they just don't want to steal. Early on in the year, like in the first series, they sent Freddie once or twice just to see. But I mean, Freddie's a good base runner. He's an aggressive base runner. I haven't seen it much this year, but he is a good base runner. The Dodgers have speed with Vargas and Outman, and they have, like I said, guys that read pitchers really well, and they get good jumps with Freddie, CT, and Mookie. I don't know what it is this year where they just can't seem to swipe a bag, but hopefully they turn something around. They figure something out, because when they're getting run on as much as they are and at the same time can't run on other teams, that's you know, that's the recipe for disaster. So hopefully this is something they figure out. I don't know what the running on the base paths answer is, because I feel like that's something where that comes down to trust in the player, and Dave's got to give the green light to steal, or, you know, maybe they're not looking in the right spot for tells from the pitcher. So, or maybe just as an organization, they said, hey, screw it. It's fool's gold to try and steal this year, even with the bigger bases. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. Like I said, I'd like to try and come up with possible solutions, but I think this is a situation where it's got to come from the coaching perspective. But I would like to see them try a little more. I mean, with as little as the Dodgers have been getting on base, you would say, well, we should try and, you know, keep guys on base. And I say, no, if you got guys on base, run when you can, just because we need every little bit of help we can get scoring runs, because the Dodgers have not been doing that particularly well in the last few games. I think we scored 2 runs in every game this series. So, you know, anything would help. And you know, in some games, they're only solo shots. So if you get a guy on first, get him second. See if we can't score him off a single. But I want to end on a high note, and we're going to talk about the bullpen, which is my high note. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of surgery on the bullpen here. I am not going to count Andre Jackson's outing from here on out. He was tipping his pitches. Dave said he was tipping his pitches. So, of course, the Cubs are going to tee off on him. If they didn't, that would have been impressive. But there's no reason to count Andre Jackson's outings when the Cubs knew what was coming and did what they were supposed to do when they knew what things were coming. If Andre Jackson shows up again and it happens again, okay, then I won't remove it. But I think I'll give him the pass on this one. So without Andre Jackson, the bullpen went 7 2/3 innings with 10 strikeouts. That's great. That's just winning baseball right now. That is what the bullpen needs to be doing with you know, Miguel Vargas trying to figure things out at second. Max Muncy not so sure-handed at third. You know, Miguel Rojas is a good shortstop. He's not in every day, but he's, you know, solid defensively. With that rotation of guys and a restricted shift, got to be able to put guys down without putting the ball in play. So this is a great step in the right direction. It's also a good reminder to everyone else, you know, all the naysayers. This bullpen can be really good. This bullpen has arms. It's got pieces. You know, it could be just be an adjustment period. Guys are trying to get used to the pitch clock, getting used to the new rules, pickoff attempts, stuff, you know, making sure that because, I mean, not only the pitch clock, they got to wait for the batter to come set, make eye contact before they can come set. So maybe they're kind of throwing off the rhythm a bit. I think it's just an adjustment period. You just got to remember that in the last 5 years, the Dodgers have had a top 3 ERA from the bullpen, with mostly these same guys. So Evan Phillips is looking like Evan Phillips. Gratterall's getting some swing and miss, also getting some pain. My goodness, he had a strikeout looking on the outside corner that was just absolutely nasty. And known all-star Shelby Miller hasn't surrendered a run yet. A little too early to tell what that means going forward. But in the early goings, that's been huge for the Dodgers. It's been kind of the stopgap or the stopper in the bullpen is Shelby Miller. And I know that was the kind of the narrative when he got signed is the Dodgers obviously must have seen something and wanted to, send him to the Mark Prior school of we're going to fix you and make you an all-star pitcher again. But it's worked. I don't know what they did, but he's been great. Gratterall has looked better and better with every outing. He's recorded 4 outs today, and 3 of them were via strikeout. He gave up a knock. It's going to happen. He's not perfect. But it's just limiting damage. 3 strikeouts. That limits damage. Evan Phillips, strikeouts, limiting damage. Vesia has looked better and better as well. If we can really get a consistent bullpen like this, and that doesn't mean, zeros across the board as much as we would all like that. It just means consistently limiting damage, limiting runs. I trust the Dodgers offensively. I know it's looked bad, but we have to remember the offense goes cold sometimes. And I'm not really worried about it. Last year, there was a stretch where we played like the Pirates, then the Nationals, and the Pirates again, and no one could hit. So it happens, and that team won 111 games. They're not going to win 111 games this year, but offensive slumps happen. But I trust them to break out of a funk. And the glaring issue of bullpen doesn't look quite so glaring this series, and that's a plus. Hopefully, they just, game by game, series by series, get more comfortable. Get more comfortable on the mound, get more comfortable with the rules, get comfortable in their roles because the roles are changing, and they're going to change when the Dodgers start getting some arms back and JP Fireeisen and Alex Reyes and Trinan if he shows up, Daniel Hudson. We don't really know what his knee looks like recently. Nice voice crack, Kevin. Knee looks like, but yeah, as they get more comfortable, just make strides, just continue to put up good numbers like this. And Andre Jackson, obviously, just he doesn't tip his pitches. I think we're talking about a totally different series. And then, hopefully the Dodgers can figure out how to put all these pieces together. And they'll look just like the Dodgers we've seen before. If the bullpen can do this and all of a sudden the offense does a little more. I mean, just a little. They don't got to go crazy, but 2 runs. I mean, nobody expects the Dodgers to only put up 2 runs. They put up 4 runs. 3 runs, we at least go to extra innings today. But, the offense just does a little bit more. We're turning these into W's. So I trust the Dodgers to put it together. And, yeah, that's what I got for this series. Overall, again, not the outcome we would have wanted, but some real positives going forward. If there was a reason for the Dodgers to drop a series that I don't think they should have, I'd rather it be from Mookie, Freddie, Max, and JD because I trust those guys to get back together. If the pitching blew up again and the bullpen just was in shambles, that would really worry me going forward. But the Dodgers host the Mets tomorrow for a 3-game series, and I don't really have any worries. If the offense shows up and the pitching does just exactly what they've been doing, we should be just fine. The Dodgers will throw out Dustin May tomorrow, Kershaw, and then it'll be, I think, Syndergaard again. So he'll make an appearance against the Mets. I'm not sure what the Mets rotation looks like, but for further information on that and all of the games moving forward, just tune in tomorrow or later today, depending on when you're watching this, for my preview or my pre-game show and to find out about pitching matchups and all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you then.